Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of SuperCoach Swordplay. It's Tuesday night and once again I'm joined by SuperCoach with DR, who is the co-host of this podcast. How'd you go this week?
G'day, Johnny. Look, mate, pretty decent week from me. Managed to hit the magical 2,000 plus mark. So what was it? I've got it written down here, 2023 I got for this week. So a little bit of forward planning, certainly have that out. I know we both jumped on someone a little bit earlier last week, mate, which absolutely paid off in spades this week. So look, at the end of the day, mate, if you're going anywhere, I think above a 1900, that was probably above par. I think 1900 was about par last week. So if you've gone above that, I think you've had a really, really solid week. Trade-ins, bought in Whitfield this week, who was, pretty underwhelming, to be quite honest. But I did go a little bit earlier on a Hawthorn rookie. So absolutely wrapped. I brought in John Newcomb, gave me a 75, managed to use that on field. So that also went a long way to help me. I dropped off a couple of poorer scores and I managed to trade out Nathan Murphy, probably at the ideal time, being a really disappointing rookie, mainly due to a bit of bad luck, I think, mate. Had that concussion, change of role, not this week that's been, but the last week up in the forward line. So things just haven't worked out well for him. So ended up trading him out at the wrong time. But I think, like you, mate, end up trading out someone else probably 1 to 2 weeks early. That man in our back line, mate. A little bit unfortunate. But, overall, can't complain with a 2,000 plus score and now ranked 359 for the season, which is my highest ranking of the season so far, Johnny. So how about yourself, mate? Did you manage to avoid the carnage or did it hit you pretty hard?
No, it hit me pretty hard, mate. I think Josh Cayley was probably one of the great ideal things that went my way this week because I went 1,750 this week. An absolute shocker. I dropped 1.5k in the rankings and I'm now back into the top 4%. So an absolute stinger there. One of very few things that went right. I got stitched up with Ned Reeves. I had to cop him on field. And this week I'm looking at a double donut in the rucks, which has probably never been done before, mate. So real downhill slope from here. But all my midfielders returned this week. So hopefully it's not as bad as what it should be. But this week was an absolute howler for me, mate. It was always going to be the case.
Oh, the big gun's hopefully back this week, mate. The Bond is back for you on field. JL, one of my favourite boys down at Brisbane. So I don't think it's all too bad, mate. There's certainly light at the end of the tunnel and hopefully you can shoot up those ranks again this week with a decent score, bud. Yeah,
we got Macca and Zerad as well to return. So, absolutely ideal. I've been missing those blokes quite flat out. So now we're going into our headline of the week. What is yours, DR? What have you got for me this week, mate?
Mate, my headline for this week, and it was only a headline that I could have, it is Aeroplane Jelly. This man that we brought in a little bit earlier last week is soaring, mate. He's reaching great heights at the moment. Gave us his best score, his top score of the year on the weekend, and he's absolutely flying at the moment, mate. So Aeroplane Jelly for me, a very, very happy owner at this stage of the season.
Yes, huge by him. My headline was Highmore-Luya. And
I love it.
Blokes who just absolutely fluked holding Highmore. Some did it by an accident because he's just too dead to trade. And if you held him for whatever reason, he's gone 115 plus, I'm pretty sure. So we got rid of him like last week, I think. So that really hurts because he was really destined to lose a fair bit of cash. But now, not only is he looking to go up in price again, which was not expected, but now he's really put his foot down on his job security, which we thought that would be dead, I think. Maybe after round 2, we thought, this guy's going to have good job security. I think now at this point in time, coming into round 14, his job security is as good as we thought it was going to be. So for me, St Kilda, they look pretty ordinary, to be honest, and I don't think he's going to be leaving the team anytime soon. So, really filthy with that one. So, I could not have that as my headline this week.
What a change around. Like, seriously, mate, who saw this coming, right? A bloke that's coming off, what was a 17 or something, bangs out a 111. Where did it even come from? So, for me, all the signs pointed to trading him out. That was going to be the best move. And, I bring in Lockie Whitfield, and the bloke delivers me a 73. Well, people have got Highmore for 111. It's unfair sometimes, mate. I'll tell you what. But look, congratulations for those people that kept the faith. well done. We've seen similar things with James Jordan earlier on the year when people let go of him really, really early after some poor performances. But look at what he even did in the weekend, mate. He was one of Melbourne's top scorers, I'm pretty sure. I don't even like to look at James Jordan's score anymore. You know, those guys, once you trade him out, like, I don't even want to look. Don't even want to look, you know. So, yeah, just one of those things, mate, where I don't think we could have predicted it. And I tell you what, if anyone had told me that they thought Highmore would go 100 plus, they're a bloody liar, mate. I tell you what, no way. You know, so yeah, lucky if you held him, unlucky if you didn't, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Looked like the ideal move to getting Whitfield over Highmore via some DPP. I mean, what a move that would have been. No one saw this happen. The tables turned just like that for 74 from Whitfield and a 111, I'm pretty sure, from Highmore, which, yeah, absolutely stings us quite a bit. Now, we're moving forward and we're on to DR's rant. I'm not sure what you got for me this week, so I'm very eager to hear what you have to say.
Well, look, mate, it's not as passionate as the rant last week about Zorks, I must admit. It's going to be a little bit calmer this week. And for any one of the listeners that hasn't checked out my round review yet, I didn't end up actually trading out the man. So for all that stuff I mentioned last week, went off chops, is a muppet. I'm never select him again. He's still on my side. So it's amazing what happens during the week, isn't it, mate? But I'll tell you what, this rant is about a player that we have already talked a little bit about. I'll talk about this man a lot during the podcast. I'm not trying to brag, but it's all about Josh Kelly. I'm just loving this pick at the moment, mate. Now, look, I'm not complaining with a score of 147. You know, you're going to bank that every day of the week, and I'm wrapped, you know, with a 147 from Kelly. But looking back at his numbers, you know, if there's ever going to be a 160, 170 plus type game, I think this was it from Josh Kelly. You know, really close towards the end. The man kicked 2 goals. He was elite with most of his disposal, used it really well. Goal assists, kicks it long, 1-2s, CBAs, clearances, tackles, everything that you want, basically, for a perfect Supercoach game. And so I was hoping, you know, or from what I saw anyway during the game, and look, you need to go back and, you know, look at every little stat and every little handball and kick and effectiveness and all the rest. But for me, mate, it seems like Jelly got a little bit ripped off even with that 147. And even though at the end of the game he was 150, and I was thinking, beauty, here we go. Let's get scaled up to a 160 plus, because he was clearly, and I say clearly, the best man on the ground, had the most impact, the most influence. You will not see, you know, you will see a better game, but you know what I'm saying, mate. It was just an elite performance. So for me, I thought that was at least a 165 type game. And champion data, I think you ripped off my man Josh Kelly a little bit here. But to the Supercoach gods, I'm not complaining. I will take the 147 from Kelly. He's in the midfield. He's fit. He's healthy. So again, I don't want to complain too much. But at the same time, I think that, yeah, 147 didn't quite cut it for the performance that this man displayed on the weekend, mate. So, yeah, the rant, I suppose, was a little bit calmer, as I mentioned, but still a little bit annoyed about that at the same time, mate.
Yeah, I think he capped that off really well. And look, I'm not a Catholic by any means, but I definitely do believe in the Supercoach gods. And the fact that Jelly was definitely underscored this week, I feel like with the piss easy fixture he's got against Carlton and Hawthorn, he's bound for a massive response. And I'm expecting 150 pluses from both of those games. So that is a massive statement, but I'm sticking to it. And I'm just embracing this pick that we both have. And that brings me to the Supercoaches Who segment. And my first Supercoaches Who for this week is Supercoaches who clearly own Josh Kelly, which is no one I can think of but myself and you and a couple of blokes prior before they traded him. So, look, I'm really happy with that one. And that is my first Supercoaches Who. What about yourself?
You can't complain with Josh Kelly, can you, mate? I've got mine there. So the first one I've got, mate, is Supercoaches who did not take the Jack Steele vice captain score. I know in the Supercoach with DR community anyway, and a lot of blokes that we know, mate, just did not take that score. And look, it was probably one of those weeks, if you're ever going to risk it for the biscuit, I suppose, Max against Max, we mentioned it last week, Gawn against Lynch, you're thinking, surely we've got a 150 plus type game here. But at halftime, mate, I think that Gawn was on 37 points. So if you're one of these people that didn't take, you know, a Steele or what was another one, a Took maybe vice captaincy score, then you would have absolutely been shitting yourself. You would have been shitting bricks, mate, because you're looking at what Gawn's producing and you're thinking, why didn't I just play it safe? You know, it happened with Grundy the other week when he got injured. There's always a risk that these type of things can happen. So those people got away with it this week. You only, I think it was 3 points or 6 points, double the 3 that you missed out on.
Yeah.
But from now on, mate, I think that I'm just going to lock in a 125. And if my captaincy goes larger than that, so be it. You know, it's a bit of an insurance policy. 125, I think, is a magic number. But for this week, got a little bit lucky, I think.
No, my captaincy for this week's a little bit higher than 125, and I'll reveal that later on in the video. So, look, I can't disagree with that at all. You know, that was just poor awareness for myself, and you should bank that Steele captaincy. And yeah, terrible as well, because I remember saying to you that I thought Luke Jackson was going to get a lot of junk time in the ruck coming up against a poorer ruckman. I felt like Goodwin was going to give him a little bit of a crack, and that's probably something I should have kept in mind when I decided to just captain Gawn over Steele. So, yeah, pretty poor awareness, and, yeah, just got to be better for next time. My second Supercoaches who is Supercoaches who actually held Matty Flynn. That was the ideal call. I know he's kind of on the chopping block a little bit. He's made a fair bit of cash, but with this Reeves and Grundy dilemma, there's no possible thing you could have done any better. So I'm actually really quite spewing about that. And, yeah, I wish I held onto Flynn, because that's really hurt me. And, yeah, that's something I just thought I had to bring up in the podcast, mate.
You'd be wrapped if you kept onto him, wouldn't you, mate? I tell you what, isn't he bloody handy as well, coming up with this buy as well. Look, my next Supercoaches who is Supercoaches who traded in round 12 buy premiums. You would have been pretty happy this week. There was only one bloke I can think of who was a pretty popular trade-in Lockie Whitfield that didn't really raise the bat. You know, you look at Tommy Stewart, he's 130. Hall went a 140 plus. Titch smashed it out of the park. Jally, Touk Miller, even Toby Green, I think, went 100 plus. Most of the big names that you can think of that are coming off that buy round in round 12 really put their best foot forward. So if you played it smart with your trades this week and invested in players that are going to be covering for the next 2 weeks, even Ollie Wines, for example, mate, smashed it out of the park. I could just, Tom Hawkins, Charlie Dixon. Yeah, all these names, it's just phenomenal. Yeah, just phenomenal. So if you're one of those players that bought in 2 or 3 of these blokes last week, you'd be absolutely laughing. So Supercoaches who traded in round 12 primos, thumbs up to you. Well done.
Yeah, got us a massive step up on the competition, having traded in Whitfield and Kelly. We went early on Kelly. We actually, people don't know, but I did the exact same thing that you did. You sold me the pick just like that in 5 minutes, and I thought, yeah, what a great idea. So I did actually trade in Josh Kelly before his buy. So, yeah, really good move in hindsight. And if I didn't do that, I would have been in so much trouble coming into this crucial round 13 buy with 4 uber premium midfielders on field. Not ideal. And having Fife and Downey on the bench, which is terrible coverage. So, yeah, really happy that I did that. My third Supercoaches who is Supercoaches who jumped on Aaron Hall early. Now, there was a time where I thought, you're absolutely kidding yourself. And there was a time where you said you're absolutely kidding yourself. Yeah, I can't even talk tonight. A week before you trade him in, you ranted about not picking him in your stock market video, and you got him in. I don't know why, because I thought, this guy's just the most non-durable player I've ever seen. But he has just turned it on. And I'll tell you what, mate, I wouldn't be surprised if he hit 600k mark, and he's just absolutely stuffed up Zeebel's scoring and shattered Bosman Valagi's job security. So one of the more, he hasn't only made me pay from not selecting him, but he's made me pay with the blokes he plays with in that back six. So yeah, that was, I thought would be a cheeky mention, would be Aaron Hall. So yeah, really good move by you getting him in your side quite early, DR, and George as well. I know a few blokes who did.
Well, as I said, mate, you know, the week before I traded him in, I had him as a trap on the stock market.
Right,
so
yeah.
gone from trap to trading. You don't see that too often, mate. But look, you got to roll the punches, mate. Yeah, it's just his role. And I was saying in my round review, he's not even the type of bloke that goes a 1-2. He'll go a 1-2-3, even a 1-2-3-4. He's just just always near the ball, mate, but made some terrible clangers over the weekend, but got enough of the ball to be able to afford that, I suppose, mate. Now, my final Supercoaches who is Supercoaches who do not take advantage of the rolling lockout when making their trades. There is no point, unless you need to lock in your trades on the Thursday or the Friday night game, whatever the first game is. Take advantage of the rolling lockout, okay? It's always such a good idea just to see, well, is there laid outs? Who's going to be the medical sub? There's news that filters through, and we saw what happened with Reeves, for example. And some people are able to go back and reverse that. Does that make sense? Reverse or reverse the trade again and get him back out of the side, which was a little bit lucky. But I know lots of people that just before the first game, even with their trades for this week, just bang, bang, bang. I've locked in the 4 already. And then things happen. Things just happen, mate. Carnage happens in Supercoach. And look, for example, I wouldn't have brought in Zach Smith this week if I didn't obviously get the news that Reeves wasn't going to be playing. I then assessed a few options, and then I thought, right, this probably makes sense for my side. So you're able to get some extra data, some information from the round, and then make your decisions about who exactly you're going to trade in. So my heavy advice is do not lock your trades in early unless you absolutely have to. Wait until that player's game's coming up, see if there are any laid outs, who's the sub, etc., and then make your moves. Do not go early unless you have to, mate.
Yeah, if I had my chance again, I'd probably do exactly that because, I was one of those candidates who decided to go Reeves quite early. I locked in my trades on Thursday night, and, boy, did that one backfire. I couldn't believe it when he was dropped and completely stuffed up my season, really. So, I'll take your advice with that one, and another crucial mistake in this podcast that I have made, as we just discussed with Steele and even Aaron Hall. So all the things that you should have done are the things that I didn't do. So, quite a bit of a copping a fair bit this podcast, and rightly so, because that's what happens when you don't do these 1%ers. You do end up with a score of 1,750. So, I can completely understand why you say that, mate. And
it is tough, mate. It's like if Gawn comes out and punches out a 190, then it's a different situation. You're like, we should have taken the risk. Why didn't you take the risk? Why'd you stay with Jack Steele? Of course, Maxi was going to go 150 plus. So, mate, there's almost never a right or wrong thing to do. A lot of it comes down to luck, but, planning never hurts anyway, I suppose, mate.
It's funny you bring that up because I remember last time I wasn't greedy with the VC. I think McRae had the VC on him against, I don't know, it was a Gold Coast or something like that. And he went 140, and I was like, I'm absolutely banking that every day of the week. And I knew that Gorm was coming up against Hawthorn, and he belts him. Like, every time he belts him, and I thought, look, no, I'm not going to do it because I thought this about St Kilda with Hunter in the ruck wasn't the case, and Jackson got all the junk time. So I thought, I'm not going to do it. And then Gorn goes 180 plus against Hawthorn. And that is the second time in a row I've missed out on that captaincy. I even remember 2020 he did the same thing against Hawthorn. I missed out on that captaincy and absolutely spewing. So that's encouraged me to become more greedy with the captaincy, and that's probably a bad thing because it's burnt me more often than not. All right, moving forward into the podcast, it's time for Lock and Horns, mate. Quite an interesting one. I'll let you kick this segment off, mate, because I'm quite interested to see what you got.
Well, this is funny, mate. Talk about doing a backflip. If people watched, was it the first episode? I think we might have logged
the first episode
on this one. You were all for trading out Brodie Grundy. You wanted Nick Nat in, and I tell you what, mate, that would have been a perfect move if he hadn't have changed his buy. So if he had had the buy this week, and that would have been a magnificent move from you because he's been in great form, scoring really, really well. But all of a sudden, I find myself making an interesting move last week. And what do? Well, 2 weeks ago, as we said, don't trade Brodie Grundy. You want to finish with this man, clearly top 2, blah, 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 blah. You're a fool for even thinking about it, Spills. I've gone in and traded in for Brodie Grundy, the, in my opinion, second best ruckman in the competition. Do you know who I've gone and got in? Mr. Zach Smith. Mr. Elite, Zach Smith, from the Gold Coast Suns.
Jeez.
Now, I know you're not a big fan of this, mate. I know you're not a big fan of this. And look, I do not rate him as a pick, all right? But just hear me out. Hear me out with my sort of mad thinking with this.
Yeah.
We know that Reeves obviously was a laid out this week. Now, my issue with him coming back in is the form of Johnny Segler. And again, this is why it's handy not to make your trades early, because now I get the information that because Johnny Segler really played out of his skin, it's one of the better games that I've seen Segler play. I dare say it would have been one of his better Supercoach scores career-wise. I'm not sure about that. I'm not really interested in looking at Segler's numbers and all the rest, but just from the eye test and what I saw, played a fantastic game. Now, all of a sudden, if you're Alistair Clarkson, do you now bring in Ned Reeves just for the sake of it and drop this man after a terrific game? You probably can't. It's going to be really, really tough to do. I'm not Clarko. He's the best coach in the comp. He'll know the best thing to do. I don't doubt that. But I think it's going to be hard for Reeves to actually get back into that side in the short term anyway, if Segler is performing his role. Maybe a Timmy O'Brien comes out, possibly. I'm not too sure. But given the fact that that news came through, I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do during this bye period? How am I actually going to get a ruckman on field? Because you got CCJ, Hickey's not available, Sean Darcy, a popular one, Rob that lots of people went to. If they're a half-decent ruckman, they've got the bye this week, and that makes it really, really tough. So given the fact that Reeves was sort of out of the play, I thought, well, who else have we got? You know, I'm not interested in going another premium ruck. I want to actually go down to someone, and that way, hopefully they can make a little bit of cash. When Grundy comes back, he should drop a little bit of coin. Happy days if I've got enough cash in the bank. Just a pretty easy trade. Now, what I needed Smith to do was hit 70, and he did that. So if he does that for the next 2 weeks, he gets to 300K. I've done the maths. I should be able to get in Grundy pretty easily. He should go down even 30K. That would help, just below 600. And I should find that pretty easy, mate. So it's all about getting a warm body on that, well, during that buy or this buy this week, the really tough week, and also making a little bit of coin while I'm at it. But he was on 6 points at quarter time, mate. Zach Smith. Yeah. We did Supercoaches who, look at fan footy after every quarter. That was me with Zach Smith last week, mate. So, yeah, but I know you're not a huge fan of it, mate. Him as a player, neither am I, but that's sort of the method behind the madness, mate. What are you thinking, bud?
Yeah, it's tough. Oh, gee, the bloke's just danced with his sister awkward, man. I mean, I would have been all for the idea of holding Flynn instead of going Reeves and just having Flynn there. That's it. Like, we know we're not going to get Gawn and Grundy. Just cop that donut. I'm all for that. But Zach Smith, I just can't get a read on it because he's just such an awkwardly priced ruckman, and I've got a massive problem with awkwardly priced ruckman because we've noticed a common thread throughout 2020 that they all just burn the shit out of you. And I thought, look, I don't mind it for coverage, but look, if you're like me and you locked out Reeves, you're just going to have to cop that donut or that double donut on the chin. So I'm not against trading Grundy, or depends who for. Obviously I had plans to trade him for Nick Nat, and I was 100% going through with that. I was meant to hold Flynn if Reeves was playing. I wasn't going to get a donut on field at all. With West Coast bye being moved around 14, it's almost ruined my season, I reckon, because the Reeves dilemma from last week's lockout, that's on me. That's just, poor awareness. But, now we get a double donut. So it depends. I don't mind Zach Smith, but I was never going to do that. If anything, I would have held on to Flynn while I could. And he went on a massive run again, 100 plus this week. So, huge stuff from Matty Flynn. And I think he was the clear call to hold in your team. That's sort of why I'll be locking horns with you on this one, mate.
Yeah, no, I can certainly see that point of view, mate. We know, what's happened with some of these high-priced rookies that people have brought in, R2, people that went that week late on someone like an RCD. These things just haven't worked out. Your Paddy Dow, it's tough at times, mate. So can certainly see both sides of the argument there. And if you had told me last week that I'd be trading in Zach Smith, I said, you're absolutely kidding, mate. There's no way that you do that. But these things happen, mate, during the week. And, hopefully it works out for the next week anyway, mate.
Yeah, no, that's right. Look, Reeves wasn't the right call, but, look, there are a few rookies on the bubble. So we'll get into the rookie radar. We'll start off with John Newcombe. Now, I won't go on a whole lot about this one because I'm going to save it for you because you did hype him up a fair bit and really good call by you, and you decided to spend a bit more time on him throughout your stock market videos. So I'll let that one sort of slide a bit. But I think he's the most obvious trading. Look, everyone's going to do it. And why wouldn't you? 102K, more than ideal. Chop one of these dead rookies where like someone like a Mansell who's like 170K. So I don't actually mind that at all. I really do like Newcomb as an option, one that I'm going to go for. And we've also got Luke Edwards. Don't know a whole lot about him. I know he's got the bye, so it doesn't help. But if you're looking to make some cash, like myself, I'm in a bit of a cash crisis to try and wheel in Aaron Hall this week, and that's a massive priority. I think I have to pull the trigger on Edwards this week. What's your take on these rookies, mate? And are there any other rookies that you want to discuss?
No, it's funny because with the West Coast boys, I just didn't consider them. Just the fact they had this bye, and I just wasn't expecting much from them anyway, to be quite honest. But played really, really well, actually. I didn't. I can't tell you the exact numbers and all the rest. I'll do the research in the stock market, obviously. But Newcomb's the one, mate, that I was just super impressed with. He's an absolute beast, this fella. The tackles, I think it was in the second quarter and I looked at the clock, and there'd been 1:20 of game time, and he'd laid 3 tackles to start off the second quarter in that time. And it's just like, wow, this guy's a beast. A bit of James Jordan in him. I know Jordan really loves the tackle, likes a bit of that hard ball, but he's meant for Supercoach, I think, this fella, mate. He's only going to get better and better in the years to come, and it's a big call, but, he could almost be a staple, I think, in our sides in the future. I just love the way that he plays the game. I loved his attitude, just worked really, really hard, and just that appetite for the contest. I hadn't seen a rookie come in like that in a while that just had that appetite. It was just an absolute jet. So, yeah, love the pick, and 100% get him this week. You don't even don't wait a week for him. Just get him this week. He should play every game of the season, I reckon. Worrell, he was a bit disappointing. What did he score about? 14, 16 type score. I know that George, I don't know if he necessarily rates him as a Supercoach pick, but as a player, he said, look, he's a pretty handy player. Got some good hopes for him, I think, down there at Adelaide, or up there at Adelaide, wherever you are at the moment. But, apart from him, I don't think that there's a heap anyway, particularly that will be available this week. Bianco, obviously, poor score from him, but I'll forgive him after a couple of nice scores. Coleman Jones, again, he's going to be a terrific cash cow for us. He was obviously on the bubble last week, got the bye this week. So, in regards to rookies, mate, not too much, I don't think. Just Newcomb's a big one. Bring him into the side. And there's another bloke from Hawthorn, Jackson Callow, I think.
Okay.
Callow. Yeah. Is it Jackson? It's Callow. I've heard around the traps that maybe he might look to get a game soonish. So if he gets a game this week, maybe he could jump on. I'll need to look up a little bit more about him and his prospects. But just another name to throw out there, mate. Yeah.
No, Newcomb, really impressive. How's this for a start? I saw this on Facebook, I'm pretty sure, but John Newcomb has broken the all-time record for tackles by a debutant. If you can...
Really?
Yeah, so he had 14, which I thought was quite interesting because 14 tackles and a score of 74, I mean, it's not alarming, but, I felt like he was better than a 74, and if he's not going to get all those tackles, what's his score going to be? It was going to be 50 or something. So maybe ceiling isn't as high as we think, but
not
if he can just keep tackling like he is, we won't have a problem with him because, I seriously rate him full beast mode. I thought he was just an unbelievable.
Man. And just the hair, the headband, he just looks like an animal,
he's
mate.
I think put Slocky Jones to shame, honestly, mate, which is a very controversial statement. But he looks the goods. He's from back my way. I'm from Gippsland way, and he lived in a small town called Poowong, which was about 10 minutes away from where I used to work. I used to do a job for a guy. I used to do a bit of work in Nyora. I'm not sure if, shout out to Nyora and the South Gippsland region, but I used to live down there. And, from a real local town. And it's just crazy how, 1 week you pick 2 in the mid-season draft and then the other week you've broken the all-time tackles for a debutant. You cannot write this script, and there's a little bit of Marlon Pickett about this, I reckon. With the So, really like him.
Talk about life-changing. And I'll tell you what, quickly, mate, some of the names up there, because we go up there a lot, as you know, I've spoken to you before. My folks used to have a holiday house up that way. You got Poowong, Ernest Wanky Road. There's some interesting names up your way, mate. I don't know who came up with these things. If maybe some mushrooms are growing locally, they consume
they're
some of those before coming up with some of
bloody.
these names. I don't know, mate. There's some interesting ones up your way, bud.
Have you heard of Nana Goon? Like in Pakenham?
I have heard it. I couldn't tell you where it is, but I've heard of it before. There's some wacky ones out there, mate, isn't there? You know?
I saw this bloody meme ages ago, like I mean, it was high school or something, but someone took a photo of like the Nana Goon sign on the freeway, and he's like on Snapchat put a caption. He's like, "Oh, are you drinking beer tonight?" And the guy replies back with a sign that says "Nah, Goon." Like absolute piece of like, yeah,
Classic.
Interesting names, Gippsland. Yeah, really rowdy stuff. Getting a bit off topic, but
We are.
all right, it's time for our trade targets. Now, usually I only go one, but I guess you could say this week's trade target and then maybe a future one. So I'll start. This week's trade target for me, it would be absolutely criminal not to say Aaron Hall, mate. I think he's a guy I have to go move limbs to get him my side. Really crucial not having him. What about yourself?
Look, for me, mate, it's probably Langford or Bailey Dale. I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to lean yet. Probably Langford due to his DPP and his price, mate. And then future trades, my last upgrade's got to be Grundy. So I need one forward upgrade and then get Grundy back in. Then I'm done, mate. So it's either going to be Dale or Langford. Would love Bolton. He's got the bias. So one of those two blokes and then finish off with Brody, mate.
Yeah, I think Dale's probably mine for future trades. That's if he drops in price. Look, it's pretty chaotic when you got the midfield I've got and then you're paying overs for Hall and then Dale. It just doesn't make sense. So, look, maybe if Reeves was playing flat out, because he's averaging like 95. Like these like Flynn numbers. So if he was going to get a high average, I'd be in a position where I could probably have both of them. That's not the case. So, yeah, value's key, especially in the forward line. So, yeah, can't have Dale yet. I think he's 520. Which is way too hectic for a forward player.
Yeah, so that's probably what's going to lean me towards Langford, I think, mate. But, yeah, Dale, good player.
Yeah. No, that's it. Look, DR, buddy, good to have a chat with you again this week. That's just about it for the podcast. The only thing we really have to discuss before we really wrap it up is what are your captains for this week?
Oh, mate, easy. Absolutely easy, mate. It's going to involve Jack McRae and my man, Aeroplane Jelly. You've got to have Jelly. I tell you, if you are a Jelly owner, I highly recommend put him in your loop this week. Just put him in your loop. I'm not sure who's got the earlier game, if it's Jelly or McRae, but it's just going to be those two blokes. You know, no Clary this week, no Gawn. No, some people have even been going with Rory Laird as captain lately. He's been putting up some nice numbers. So pretty simple, mate. McRae and Jelly. Easy. How about yourself, mate?
Well, I'm going very similar. Not McRae, but I'm actually going Bonampally for Jelly this week because I think the Dogs play on the Friday night. I think either Thursday or Friday. Definitely the first game, that primetime game. And the reason I'm doing that, look, I think Bonampally, he's against Geelong. Well, it depends how hard O'Connor goes after him. But I'm expecting anywhere from a 70 to a 150. And I feel like it could be one or the other. If I'm getting like 140 or 50, I'm banking that. But I feel like it's one or the other. And if worst case scenario, we just go Jelly against Carlton. Has a 200 against Carlton. So, yeah, really appealing captaincy option. That was in 2018. So I remember that game quite promptly. So they will be my captains for this week, mate.
One more before you go, mate.
Yeah.
What's going to be your vice captaincy threshold? So what's Bont going to need to score for you not to run with Jelly?
160.
160.
Nah, probably. I'll take a 130, not 125. I'll go 130 because, well, let's be honest. Jelly's form, and he's playing Carlton. I mean,
it's hard.
He's gonna smash him, isn't he? So yeah, I reckon that's the obvious captaincy option. And yeah, I don't mind McRae as well. Yeah, but McRae's an interesting one because I feel like he's very similar to Lyons. I feel like just a solid average, like just never really goes below 100. But I haven't seen too many 140s from him this year, or nothing crazy, which is a bit weird for McRae. But he's just been good for a solid 125 each week. So I'm looking for Bonampally to absolutely explode. It's kind of like when you chuck the VC on a key forward hoping he's going to kick a bag of goals. It's like it's either going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
But if it goes shit house, I've got a good backup. So it doesn't really matter anyway. Because worst case scenario, Jolly against Carlton, it's not going to go wrong. And I know Leon Cameron's the coach, and JD might pull up a few good points about why it could go wrong. But I feel like that's a very safe one.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Love it, mate. Sounds good, bud. Well, yeah, mate, as I said, great to have another chat with you, mate, every Tuesday. It's getting a pretty fun tradition, mate, catching up on Skype for the podcast, mate, and keeping that same sort of structure, I think, is good as well, mate. We've got those same headlines each week. So, been super again, mate, and all the best of luck for a bloody tough round coming up. And to everyone that's listening, good luck as well avoiding all of this round 14 carnage.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have one more question for the viewers. Now, only the real close viewers and fans of our channels would have stuck around till this point of the podcast, and many will know Supercoach quite well. Are there any bit of advice or feedback that you guys have? Like, drop them down in the comments, because I know I got a guy last week. I can't remember what his name was, unfortunately, but he advised that we upload on Spotify and the podcasting app and SoundCloud and all these platforms, which I think would be actually a really good idea. So it gives people a bit of a choice. And I reckon that's going to really develop our viewing as well. I can't remember what his name is. I really am sorry, because that's a good shout out, and really good
shout out next week. Yeah,
give him a shout out next week. But a really good point he pulled up, and I haven't really replied to any of the comments from the Swordplay because they've just been piling up. But I've definitely been reading them. So if anyone feels like we're ignoring you, we're not. We just, when you're uploading, when we're going through 3 YouTube channels, you got Swordplay, there's DR, and there's Spills, and then plus like we got our own segments, like my rookie review, round reviews. You got your sockies. It's just too hectic. We can't reply to every comment, and we both work flat out as well. So any bit of advice and feedback is very much appreciated. So it doesn't go unnoticed to the viewers, but.
For sure.
For now, DR, we'll wrap it up, and hopefully you have a good week, mate. And once again, a cracking podcast, and I can't wait for the next one. Going to be a really good series, I reckon. Massive, the Supercoach Swordplay. Really looking forward to it, mate.
Good on you, Johnny. Well, mate, maybe we both might have to bring a box of tissues next week after round 14, mate. We'll definitely both rock up, though, regardless of how bad or good we go. We're locked in each week, mate. So
I'll be crying more this week. Round 13 was my round 14. I had a shocker. I'm surely bound to bounce back after that nonsense. 1700. I mean,
onwards and upwards. Onwards and upwards, mate.
Yeah, hope to spot next week, mate. Anyway,
that's it, mate.
Coming on, and we'll see you in the next one.
Good on you, Spills.